The 7 things you should be talking about today. Number 7.
All right, there was a walkout yesterday of 100 Alabama independent pharmacists. The goal here was to get media attention to the issue of pharmacy benefit managers underpaying independent pharmacies and get some attention on a piece of legislation crafted by State Senator Andrew Jones. And the idea here was to stop pharmacy benefit managers from underpaying independent pharmacies. I mean, that's really what it was about. And the idea here was if you didn't have these pharmacists, all you're left with is these big chains in different parts of the state where sometimes it's not very close. You don't have these local pharmacies. There's a lot here. And this conversation has been going on for a long time. We've talked about it probably more than almost anyone else in this state. They focused the story at AL.com on DSAC Hicks of Frisco City Pharmacy. It's an interesting story. You should go read it.
Number 6.
The Alabama Senate passed an additional ban on Glock switches. Glock switches, for those who don't know, are the little switches you can put on a regular handgun to make it an automatic. It's already illegal by federal law, but the idea here is to make it more illegal. And by making it more illegal, you'll then have an opportunity to charge them with state crimes while you're waiting for federal crimes to work their way out. Fine, whatever. They've already committed a crime. Charge them with something else. Do what you got to do to make this happen. This is part of the Safe Alabama thing. I don't know what this is going to actually do except add to other illegalities that they should already be charging them with. Fine. Now, what are you going to complain about if you're one of these big city mayors who can't get crime under control? Trust me, they'll find something to gripe about. No question about that.
Number 5.
Damian LaRon McDaniel III, a 22-year-old Fairfield man imprisoned at Kilby Correctional Facility after his probation was revoked, now stands accused of 14 murders over 14 months. With Birmingham police adding 3 new charges to for the death of firefighter Jordan Melton in a fire station attack. Mia Nixon outside of her East Birmingham home and Anthony Lamar Love Jr. in a UPS lot ambush. The police chief, Michael Pickett, he's the interim police chief, and Mayor Randall Woodman emphasized the city's unwavering commitment to justice, noting the profound community pain for McDaniel's alleged acts, including 2 2024 mass shootings at Hush and Trendsetters lounges. His attorney says that, you should be paying attention to this kind of stuff, but it will all play out. There's an intentional killing, a mass shooting, a murder for hire here. This guy's a monster.
Number 4.
The DOGE, what DOJ? The DOGE cuts are reportedly hitting Alabama, and U.S. Representative Terry Sewell, Democrat from Birmingham, initially tweeted more than 100 workers at the Social Security office in Birmingham were unjustly terminated by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, calling it a reckless power trip. Speaking of reckless, Terry Sewell would later note that the American Federation of Government Employees indicated the job cuts were not just in her district, but across 7 states that cover the Social Security Region 4. Now, that significantly lessens the blow. Did Terry Sewell walk that back? No, because she's a fraud. Everything is a death, right? Everything is a huge deal. Everything is a freak out. Keep in mind, this is the same person that did not give a damn if you lost your job because you wouldn't get the vaccine. She wouldn't even meet with you.
Number 3.
Alabama senior U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, a Republican out of Auburn, lauded President Donald Trump on Newsmax for his imminent mineral deal and the deal to stop Russia's 3-year war in Ukraine. Now, the exchanging of mineral rights for enhanced protections, a move he says finally pays back U.S. taxpayers after trillions have been squandered. Tuberville accused former President Joe Biden and Democrats of having the power to end the conflict sooner, but choosing not to do so. So a lot of accusations being thrown around there. He also said that calling Trump a Putin apologist was more about hurting Donald Trump than anything else. and they let that kind of skew what they were trying to do in Ukraine. Hatred of Trump made Ukraine worse. That's Tuberville's argument. He's probably not wrong.
Number 2.
President Donald Trump revealed that he and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky have largely negotiated a deal with the United States to tap into Ukraine's strategic minerals, including uranium and titanium, as a repayment for tens of billions of dollars in aid, with Zelensky due in Washington, D.C. on Friday to finalize the terms after a week of progress. You know, I will just say this. When he signs that deal, the media is going to start crushing him. I mean, they are going to go after him, and they are going to say that he caved to Donald Trump. They're going to be very mad. Just wait and see what happens when a peace deal in Russia and Ukraine is made. They're going to have to figure out a way to still be mad about Trump. And I think Zelensky is going to be made into a bit of a weapon in this case. They're going to start referring to him as maybe a tool of Donald Trump. Should be very interesting to watch.
And now time for the number 1 thing you should be talking about today.
You know, House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican out of Louisiana, was facing a crumbling vote count. They didn't think they had the votes in order to get the bill that they were working on to talk about budgets across the finish line. But Donald Trump, the president of the United States, came in and intervened. He convinced holdouts like U.S. Representative Victoria Spartz out of Indiana and Representative Warren Davidson, a Republican out of Ohio, to back a budget blueprint pivotal to Trump's sprawling legislative goals. This thing passed 217 to 215. Representative Thomas Massey, a Republican out of Kentucky, dissenting. His, of course, anger over this is the tax cuts, which are, quote, not paid for, which is a Democrat speak for tax cuts for people we don't like. This is a big deal here. They now have to go to the Senate and get this worked out. It's kind of funny. The media has taken on this idea that there are cuts to Medicaid and to kids' lunches. Ask them to show in the budget where that is. It's not in there. It's not in there. If you read the stories, if you get past the headlines, what they actually say is, we don't understand how they're getting these cuts unless they cut Medicaid. Again, keep that in mind. This is all about potential cuts to Medicaid, not cuts to Medicaid, potential cuts to Medicaid. Because keep in mind, they don't want to cut anything. So they've chosen the thing that they can use as the biggest political weapon. And even though there is no actual cuts to Medicaid in this, they get to say, well, potential cuts to Medicaid. Now, this adds to the deficit and all this other stuff. So Republicans have failed in that regards. There are cuts to spending, as there should be, and returning money to the American people. If you do not extend the tax cuts, you raise taxes on the American people. And maybe that's what Democrats want, but they lost an election on that. Okay? They lost an election on that. So now it's into the disingenuous framing thing that Democrats do so well. So that's where we're basically at this point. This obviously will go to the Senate. They'll have reconciliation, and they'll figure out exactly how they're going to do this. Just remember, this budget, like every other move Donald Trump has made, is essentially a murder of all American people. And it has to be treated as such. If the budget passes and there's not a single dollar, if there is a single dollar not spent the way the Democrats and the media want, well, then it's a hate crime. So that's how they're treating this. And that's exactly how they're going to frame it. So that's where we're at here. That's where things stand as of right now. But they didn't think they were going to be able to get it through the House. They did. Now it goes to the Senate, where the battle will be contentious. This still adds money to the debt. This still has a big problem here where we're not addressing our main issues. But I guess it's a win for the Trump agenda in some way, shape, or form. So there we go. Moving forward, very little at this particular point in time, but moving forward nonetheless. You can jump in here right now, voice your opinion, 205-545-9950. Get your questions in for 10 with him. I believe Tori is back with us today. Also, Matt Murphy will be with us a little bit later as well. So we got a busy one for you. Keep it locked right here on the fastest hour of radio anywhere on your radio dial.
You're listening to News and Views with Dale Jackson.